All right. So he knew what that meant. And if God has rejected him, that means maybe God is angry with the kingdom for having an illegitimate king. They will have to revolt and remove him or something. All right. So he knew what that meant. So really quickly, what he did was to excommunicate the Pope back. Right. So go through the read about history, you'll see. So when the Pope excommunicated King Henry said, "Oh, okay, I'm excommunicating you back." So he confiscated all the lands that the Catholic Church had, but that was a defensive move too. He would have been killed or banished. He removed the church, the Catholic Church, arrested all the bishops, all the Catholic bishops that were representatives of the Pope in England. I think put them in jail or something, seized all their lands, and became even wealthier by taking all their lands and all their wealth. And then he now created his own church called the Church of England, and installed his own bishops. Then he now became the head of the Church of England. Right? Read your history. That's how the church. Maybe would say, "Oh, I'm a this, I'm a that." I belong to this. You don't know how your own branch of the church started, right? It started because your king wanted to marry another wife. That's the only reason. It's not because God spoke to anybody. He wanted to marry another wife, and they don't make him marry another wife. That's how he broke. The Pope excommunicated him. He excommunicated his people back and renamed the Catholic Church in England. He renamed it just the Church of England, and he became the head of the Church of England. Then he installed his own bishops. And we know how the rest of the story went. The point I'm making there is that the church had that much authority, right? That much authority, that much moral authority, so that people were afraid of the representative of the church saying this person is excommunicated. Excommunicated. I mean, now it may not carry as much weight, but back then it was a lot. Big, such a big that you excommunicate the whole king. That means you can kill him. It means even his own soldiers, because everybody was so fanatically religious then, even his own armor bearers can probably turn around and stab him because they really, really honestly believe that God wants him out. It was crazy. So he had to make that move, and that's how that Church of England came to be. So that's how powerful the church was. The word of the Pope. See, how many of you have seen this series? I love this series very much. I've seen season 1. It's called The Young Pope, starring Jude Law. Oh, if you don't know anything about the Pope or how the Vatican works, just go and watch The Young Pope. It has only one season, but the later is season 2, but they called it something else. It's the continuation, same actor, Jude Law. Go watch The Young Pope. You understand how powerful that office is. You may think like those guys wearing white robes and just moving like, no, those guys are freaking powerful. Not as powerful as they once used to be, but they're very powerful. Checking Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. It's on, I think it's on HBO. I don't remember, but I think it's on Netflix. Very unlikely that it's on Netflix. It's called The Young Pope. So anyway, so bring it to Nigeria, right? Because remember I'm talking about the gay thing and that whole the Nigerian version of Red Pill, right? In the church, we've always had, even the Nigerian church has always been the moral fabric of the people. It's always been the conscience of the people, right? And if you wanted people to be kinder or to be better citizens of the country, all the president of any country had to do was to interesting. So I'm giving you guys a test on life in the UK. Regina says very true. That history is in the Life in the UK test handbook. I read about it, King Henry VIII and his wife Catherine. So interesting. So this, what I'm giving you here for free now is part of what they give you guys as a test when you want to move to the UK. Even though I don't have any intention, I might not, but I'm here where I am, but I must know what's happening in the world. I must know how we got here. I must know everything. I have to. Yeah. So that's good to know. So the Nigerian church has also always been the conscience of the people. So whenever maybe a ruler in authority wanted to make people more civic and all that was to engage religious leaders, because the people, the masses, sheep, they don't have much capacity for independent thought, and that's fine. Everybody has their place in life, I guess. So because the masses, look up to some higher power for direction in life, they are generally not as self-governed. They look at who the representation of the higher power is, and the government engages that person and says, "See, we want people to maybe cross the road better and all that. Can you teach them a sermon, something like that, and bake that into your sermon?" And that's how they engage. The preacher, the bishop, or the priest, or whatever will now teach and find a place in the Bible that aligns with that agenda. So okay, good behavior. God said, honor your leaders in authority. Whenever you are crossing the road, it's good to obey traffic signals. The policeman may not be there to see you, but God sees you, and you need to please God. Heaven is the goal. If you want to make heaven, even when you are not being seen, God who sees you in private will reward you, and all of that. And is it true, is it false? I don't care, but that helps to manage the behavior of people because they truly, truly believe in that God. And they truly believed that the pastor was a representative of that God that would reward you if you did what he said and would punish you if you did not do what he said. Now, is it right or wrong? That is not my conversation here. But it's been a huge responsibility. And so pastors have had that responsibility for a long time. But lately, they had begun to mismanage that responsibility terribly. I'll tell you how. Sometime in the maybe in the 2010s, when this wave of feminism was coming from the West, it's not native here, so from the West, right? Now, all those movements, they're pretty complex. Let me try to explain something, right? This thing's plenty. You see, the masses understand things only at face value, all right? And I remember one time I told you guys on night school that one of the ways of reinventing yourself for the modern world is to become a master of language. And one of the ways that your colonizers used to dominate you is through their mastery of language, because the language we use is not ours. The language is natively theirs. And just like on the slave plantations, where the slave master only taught the slave literal English, that was enough to get jobs done on the plantation, and they were not taught figurative English, which is what the masters used to create the modern world, the slave was generally excluded from the deeper meaning of the game of life. So it's very hard, for example, to teach Nigerians at a certain level of intelligence, because you cannot use idiomatic expressions with Nigerians. They don't understand it. If you say this to Nigerians, they will get angry, but you don't take away the truth. Like when Mr. Money Point said Nigerians are not employable, it is true, but they cannot take the truth. You are not anywhere near what it takes to compete with those that colonized you. All we have over here is braggadociousness and arrogance and boldness. You don't have any power, or what it even takes to have anything near the amount of power it takes to compete with them. So many factors. And one of those things is that our people have a diluted understanding of language, even the English language. Now, this is not just the African. It also relates. It also connects to the American that is lesser educated, what they call the urban population, right? What they call them that, right? And so they weaponize their higher appreciation for language because their schools are not your schools. Their subjects are not your subjects. So they know that the masses only understand language at face value and don't go deeper. So whenever they want to push a movement that has sinister motives, please catch this. This is part of your world of knowledge. When they want to push an agenda or a movement that has sinister objectives, okay, but let me not say sinister because then puts me at I'm biased. When they want to push an agenda that has other motives beneath the iceberg that they sense the masses might reject if they knew what it was, what they do is to first of all take charge of how they name the movement while they bury the meaning of the movement under that name. Because whatever is beneath the surface, the masses will never check, they will never search. Like Solomon said, it is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but it is the honor of kings to search it out. Most people are not kings. They just say on social media, they're not kings. Most people are not queens. They just say, I'm a queen, no, you're not, you're a peasant. Right? And that's okay, because most people are not kings, most people are not queens, they will not search it out. Only kings who stay up at night researching a particular matter, they have to struggle with it. Poor man, they even get their pride from not knowing things. I mean, people that derive swag from not knowing stuff. Hey bro, after that, they're like, oh, I know, they're laughing, I don't really know, I know this, I know you never see a king talk like that. You know? They derive pride from not knowing stuff. And in Nigeria, we have our version of that stupid learned helplessness. I cannot come and kill myself. You know, that is just what you say to just sign off on something that you should have researched. You know? So they know that nobody will really go down into the beneath. You know what the analogy of the iceberg means? When it's just the tip of the iceberg, meaning the rest of the iceberg is below the water, and that's what most of the mass is. Most people will not go beneath the iceberg. So I'll give you an example, right? When the US Senate, for example, is passing a bill, usually it is one side or the other, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, right? And here's how they confuse the masses. When I say the masses, not the Nigerian masses, their masses, the American masses. Here's how they confuse them. The Democrats are forever sworn to disagree with the Republicans. The Republicans are forever sworn to disagree with the Democrats. However, when the Democrats are putting out a bill, say for example, Obamacare, all right? I think the real name for Obamacare, correct me if I'm wrong, was the Affordable Care Act, I think. They first of all take charge of the name. So that when the masses see the name, right? They'll be like, oh, of course, affordable care. We want affordable care. Everybody wants affordable care. Oh, it has to be a good thing. Now, let's say the Democrats are the ones that put forward the Affordable Care Act. The Republicans on the other side, remember, Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, these two are on the same level of education. They're not the masses. No. Senators, oh my goodness. Did I not tell you guys that people want to be either presidents or senators in America, they're part of their specific schools that they go to? Like, wait, you get one guy for Instagram that went deep into it. I saved the video. Wait, hold on. Just hold that thought. I'm still building up to my points. There was one guy, I know we talked about the university they go to, but one guy traced even down to the high school. Okay, I hope I saved this thing. I don't think I saved it. Gosh. Okay, I didn't save it. But anyway, it's not that serious. If I see it again by mistake, I'll just save it. But the guy went deep, and like his analysis was very deep. He traced the number of senators that came out from a specific high school and even primary school. You know, so there's a particular high school that most of the senators, military generals, Fortune 500 CEOs, and let me ask ChatGPT if it's this one. Let me ask. Maybe it shall be given unto me. Hey, so I saw a video, I think on Instagram or TikTok, I don't remember, where some guy was talking about a particular school, I think either high school or primary, I'm not sure, that accounts for a lot of senators, Fortune 500 CEOs, and a couple of presidents. Do you have any idea of the school he was talking about? All right, the guys, it's not very serious. It's not a very serious matter. It's just he meant US. I'm glad I can send follow-up questions while he's thinking. You know what's really important? I wish I could find the video. The video is more impactful than just the mere information. Anyway, while he's thinking, let me move on. Or an answer, bro. Okay, so most likely, yes, Phillips Academy, Andover. It's an elite US boarding high school in Andover, Massachusetts. It has educated, yes, this is correct. It has educated 2 US presidents, George H.W. Bush, and George W. Bush. So father and son went to the same high school, same boarding school. Plus members of Congress, business figures, billionaires, Nobel laureates, and other elite network people, and so on and so forth. Right. So anyway, that is that. It exists. So somebody is saying West Point. Yeah, West Point is at the senior level. All right. That's when they're already adults, like it's college level. I'm talking about even high school. There's a particular high school when they're at secondary school level where they push them, and strategy just gave us the name. They push them to. So they think elites, like they're not thinking like the masses. So my point is that when the Democrats, for example, put out a bill like the Affordable Care Act, the Republicans have the same kind of education as the Democrats. They all went to the same schools. They're all on the same level of thinking. So the magic or the sorcery of language that the Democrats are using, the Republicans are immune to it because now the same jazz man we educate 2 of them. However, the Democrat is not naive when he names it in that way. He knows that the Republican will clock it. But he's not doing that to confuse the Republican. He knows he can confuse the Republican. This will always be at war with each other. They have equal power mentally. All right. The person he's trying to the Democrats confuse is the masses, because the masses don't know any better. So when you put the name like that, they want the Republican to look stupid or wicked when they choose to attack the bill. Because then the masses will now say, why would you be attacking something as noble as the Affordable Care Act? You people don't care. You hate the people. You people just want to own everything because you can afford this, afford that. You don't want the people. We the people will pay all the taxes. You don't want us to have affordable healthcare. That's how they'll be thinking. But the Republicans will now be trapped, because how would they explain to the masses what you only learn in maybe law school or Ivy League schools, right? How do you explain to them that apart from the name of the bill, you have to read something called the provisions of the bill? It is inside the provisions of the bill that the witchcraft is hidden. All right. So because inside the provisions of the bill is usually where a lot of corruption is hidden. Now, most people are not politically educated. All right. Most people are not politically educated, so they don't understand something called the provisions of the bill. All right. So the name of the bill looks great, but then you need to have the provisions of the bill. So what are the things inside the bill that would enable the bill to come to life? That is where they hide all the corruption. And because the masses don't know how laws are made, because that is not generally taught in schools or in regular schools, they won't even put the Freedom of Information Act. You can actually go and see what the provision of every bill is, but they will mostly not check. Right? And it is not the name of the bill or the intent of the bill that the other side is fighting. It's the provisions of the bill. There may be a provision of the bill that says that they may have to allocate millions of dollars from the national budget to upholding the Affordable Care Act. And the other guys are like, which millions of dollars to who? Which contractor? This contractor is suspicious. This contractor you are giving this thing to is also a Democrat. You people are using this bill as a front to finance your next campaign. When the Republican says that to the Democrat, the masses don't understand the conversations at that level. They'll start to attack the Republicans. And vice versa. So there is the name of the bill and then the provisions of the bill. Wait, let us do some let us do some practical here, because this is part of your maybe civic education now. All right. Oh, I don't have to ask the Oracle instead. No, let me just ask ChatGPT. Let the Oracle rest. Let's try for tonight. So I'm trying to explain to my students about how there's a difference between the name of a bill passed in the Senate versus the provisions of a bill. When the average American sees the name of a bill, like for example, the Affordable Care Act, on surface value, that is a bill that nobody should oppose, because hey, who wouldn't want affordable care for the citizens of the United States? And so people would wonder why the other parties, say the Republicans, would oppose something that sounds so noble like the Affordable Care Act. And I'm explaining that it's not necessarily the name of the bill or the surface intent of the bill that the other side is attacking, but they're attacking the provisions of the bill, because it is inside the provisions of the bill that a lot of corruption is typically buried and other things. Could you please explain this? My screen is shared and they're going to read your response. This is an easy thing to answer, so it shouldn't really take too much time. All right, I want you guys to see, I'm building up to my point, but I want you guys to see that I'm not trying to do any propaganda on you. This is just knowledge of the modern world. Oh, very good. It says here's the clean way to explain it. The name of a bill is marketing. It's just marketing. The provisions of the bill are law. A bill can have a beautiful name: Affordable Care Act, Patriot Act, Inflation Reduction Act, For the People Act, Protecting Children Act, and so on. But the name is not where the real power is. The real power is inside the text. The sections, subsections, definitions, funding mechanisms, penalties, exemptions, agencies created, taxes imposed, mandates added, and powers granted. When one party opposes a bill with a noble sounding name, it does not automatically mean they oppose the noble idea in the title. For example, opposing the Affordable Care Act does not necessarily mean someone is saying I want healthcare to be unaffordable. The official goals of the ACA included expanding affordable insurance, expanding Medicaid, and lowering healthcare costs through new delivery models. But the actual law also included specific mechanisms: subsidies, insurance exchanges, employer penalties, Medicaid expansion, insurance regulations, coverage rules, and other structural changes. That is where the political fight happens. One side may say this bill expands healthcare access. The other side may reply, yes, but we agree with how it does that: the cost, the taxes, the mandates, the federal control, the penalties, the bureaucracy, or the hidden benefits given to certain groups. So the argument is not always about the headline goal. It's often about the machinery underneath. Think of a bill like a bottle of medicine. The label may say pain relief, but the responsible person still checks the ingredients, dosage, side effects, manufacturer, and warnings. Politics works the same way. A bill's title tells you what its supporters want you to think the bill is about. The provisions tell you what the bill actually does. And this matters because bills can contain things the public may never notice: special carve-outs, funding for favored interests, new regulatory powers, unrelated amendments, loopholes, enforcement mechanisms, or provisions that sound small but create massive long-term consequences. In the Senate especially, amendments do not always have to be strictly related to the subject of the bill, except in certain circumstances. That is why serious citizens should not ask only, do I like the name of the bill? They should ask, what exactly does this bill authorize, prohibit, fund, tax, regulate, punish, exempt, or transfer power to? That is the difference between reading politics like a spectator and reading politics like an operator. Is that clear now? Right? Nicholas Emeka has put money behind his question so that we have to show it by force and by fire. Okay, thank you for your donation, Nicholas. So I'm really scared. What happens if J.O. is not here? I'm already so addicted. Can we trust the Oracle to replace him? Well, I don't know. Just show up for as long as I'm here. I don't know if I want to do this forever. So we could just do what we do for now. All right. So as I was saying, how that is clear so far. All right. Whether the Nigerian Senate or American Senate, Senates are almost the same everywhere. All right. And people who are politically educated and politically conscious must understand how governments work, must understand how the legislature works. Most people don't. But this is not about politics now. This is about how the power centers weaponize their higher grasp of language, because they have higher levels of education. They have a higher grasp of language than the common man, not even the African self. Even their fellow Americans that are just the masses, they weaponize that against their people. How much more against foreign soil, right? So I was saying all of that to say this: that when just like what they do with the way they do with bills, laws that they pass in the House, it's the same way they do with movements. All right, they have to take charge of the name and make it a name that is very difficult to attack. All right. Another example, say, is Black Lives Matter. Okay, if I were to ask, or if you were to ask a member of the masses, do you support Black Lives Matter? Most people are not multi-layered enough to think deeply about the question. So if you asked someone, do you support Black Lives Matter? And they said no. You see, what happens next has been premeditated by the people who created the movement called Black Lives Matter. These people are highly intelligent, very educated, very deliberate, very intentional. They do not use words loosely. They know the intended effect those words should have when delivered. They're Harvard trained, Ivy League trained. They are not your mates. I'm not saying you got to take them as superior, but when anything is coming from them, pause. King James will say, the Bible will say, Selah. It means pause and meditate. Pause and meditate. Whenever it's coming from these people, pause and meditate, because often it does not mean what you think it means, or it doesn't mean what they hope you will think it means. Think about it intentionally. So when they were creating that movement, they had to pick a name that was hard to attack. Because anybody says, I don't support Black Lives Matter, the organization would instantly be accused of hating black people, because it's just a mix-up in language that the common man is not able to, it's like his brain has just jammed. You can't reason with him. And that was deliberate by the creators of Black Lives Matter. So when a person says, I don't support Black Lives Matter, they're not saying they don't think Black Lives Matter. Generally, what they're saying is that, listen, you said you support Black Lives Matter, right? Black Lives Matter is an organization that simply has a name that says that affirms Black lives, all right? But Black Lives Matter is an organization. Every organization has founders, perhaps a board, perhaps a mission statement, perhaps an intent, perhaps it has operational guidelines, an agenda, right? So before I can say whether I support any organization or not, I need to know who is behind the organization. Isn't that a reasonable question to ask? Who is behind the organization? Who are its leaders? Who are its founders? Who are they? Can we just see who they are? Why did they found Black Lives Matter? Okay, are people making a lot of donations in millions? Okay, is there any transparency behind how this money is being used? What is it? I'm not saying I don't support it. I'm saying I can only answer the question if I can know what it is. Like saying, do you support Microsoft? I want to know, okay, who's founder of Microsoft? Who is on the board? Where have they put money into? Are they a corrupt organization, or are they it's a scientific question? But because the name was craftily created, there were other organizations before it was National College of NCAP, I think. There were other organizations, but this one had a perfect name that was hard to attack. I remember there was one interview that they gave this guy, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was being interviewed, and they asked him, do you support Black Lives Matter? And the guy stood his ground and said, I don't know what that is. But of course, black people are watching it, started blasting Lil Wayne. Of course, that reaction was premeditated by its founders. So that whatever corruption happens to the organization, whatever misappropriation of funds can go under the radar, and the common man is not educated or smart or wise enough to look at the provisions of a thing versus simply its name. All right? So that's how it's been. Thank you, NAACP, I'm talking about. So, and again, if I've watched House of Cards, you understand these things. When they're fighting bills back and forth, obviously I'm explaining here, you understand if you watch House of Cards, right? Anyway, so when something is being brought from there, they cook it and brought it here. For example, what was it? Feminism. Fantastic. All right? To the average person, mostly the average woman, of course, women should have more rights. I agree. But that is the name of the bill, not the provisions of the bill. The provisions of the bill will forever be hidden from you. You cannot. So when a Nigerian, sees feminism being, say, misappropriated, they are quick to yell. And I'm coming to the pastors. I'm coming to it. Right? They are quick to yell. No. That's misandry. It's not real feminism. You are the only one who claims to know what real feminism is. But can't you see by their fruit? You shall know them. You can see its fruit every day. Yet you are denying what this thing really is, because you did not create it, black woman. African woman. You didn't create it. It was made by a group of people. They are the only ones that can tell you what they meant when they created it. It's not you. That would impose and say, no. Real feminism is right, because you're not, able to go deep into the provisions of it's not a bill, but for this provision, the bill, look deeper into it, what its intents are, right? And there is a historical precedent. I don't assume any of you has been in previous night school episodes, so I'll just repeat myself. The Edward Bernays and the Torches of Freedom campaign. All right, now I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to share my screen and ChatGPT will talk us through it. Right? Let's watch together. Okay, in the same vein, I am trying to make a correlation with Edward Bernays and co. with the Torches of Freedom campaign and the reasoning and the strategy behind getting women to smoke, which before then was taboo. And what that whole mechanism was, I don't want to put words in your mouth figuratively. You just give me the lowdown. My screen is shared and everyone is watching. I mean, there's more I would have said, but I don't want people to think I'm putting words in ChatGPT's mouth. So let it just give you its own explanation of what happened. Trusted sources. All these trusted sources may not really. Okay, Edward Bernays, Torches of Freedom campaign. Edward Bernays was a man who wanted to make more money from women because they had sold all cigarettes that they could sell to men. So at the time, only men were dying of cancer. Women did not smoke because women thought it was not ladylike for a woman to smoke, right? So, but the cigarette companies needed to make more money. So they're like, look, men have bought all cigarettes, we need to make more money. How can we get women to smoke? And they consulted with this guy called Edward Bernays. He wrote a book called Propaganda. All right, Edward Bernays' Torches of Freedom campaign is one of the clearest examples of how public opinion can be shaped by attaching a product, policy, or behavior to a noble idea. In the late 1920s, cigarette companies had a business problem. Many women did not smoke openly in public because it was seen as improper, immoral, or masculine. So the issue was not only how do we sell cigarettes, the deeper issue was how do we destroy the taboo around women smoking in public. Bernays was hired by American tobacco company Lucky Strike to help expand cigarette sales among women. His genius, or wicked genius, was that he did not sell cigarettes as cigarettes. He sold them as freedom. Bernays consulted psychoanalysts. Why these people are not your mates? Before they bring something out to the public, they've gone deep into the human psyche. All right. So Bernays consulted psychoanalyst A. Abril, who suggested that cigarettes could be symbolically framed as torches of freedom for women because cigarettes were associated with male power and public independence. Bernays then staged a public event during the 1929 Easter parade in New York, where women lit cigarettes in front of photographers and reporters as a supposed acts of liberation. That's the mechanism. The cigarette was no longer just tobacco. It became a symbol. It was made to mean I am modern, I am equal to men, I reject all restrictions, I am free. So if someone criticized women smoking, they could be made to look like they were not merely criticizing cigarettes. They could be made to look like they were criticizing women's freedom itself. That is the pattern we were discussing with bills. A bill can be wrapped in a noble name, a product can be wrapped in a noble cause, a campaign can be wrapped in liberation language, but underneath the wrapping, you must ask who benefits, what behavior is being normalized. Listen, look at this. Who benefits? What behavior is being normalized? What is being sold? What is being hidden behind the moral language? The subtlety here is important. Women genuinely did face unfair social restrictions. There really was a double standard, but Bernays and the tobacco company took that genuine desire for equality and attached it to a harmful commercial product. That is the lesson. Propaganda often works best when it does not invent a desire from nothing. It finds a real human desire like freedom, dignity, safety, patriotism, equality, health, or justice, and then attaches that desire to something the public might otherwise question. That is why the wise person does not stop at the slogan. They ask, is this truly freedom, or is freedom being used as packaging? Historians also caution that Bernays' campaign may not have single-handedly caused women to smoke. Women smoking publicly was already becoming more visible before 1929, but the campaign remains famous because it shows the deeper PR technique, reframing consumption as identity and making a business objective look like a social movement. Focus on this. Making a business objective look like a social movement. I'll say it one more time. Making a business objective look like a social movement. Capitalism is no respecter of persons. It's not. We deal with spiritual wickedness in high places, rulers of darkness. So just to make more money, they had to ride on real desire for justice and equality amongst women. All right, and at the time, women were mostly not falling ill with cancer and cancer-related throat issues. But when that taboo was broken, women started smoking too. Real equality in the deaths from tobacco-related illnesses happened across board. Because I think this is 1929. So at that time, the correlation between smoking and cancer had not yet been formed. At that time, if you went to a doctor and said you were stressed or had headaches, a doctor could prescribe smoke a cigarette. That was the knowledge of the time. So they had not yet known that cigarettes caused cancer. So at the time, only men had those diseases. Women started smoking because of this campaign, and they also had it as well. But guess who profited? The tobacco company, Lucky Strike. All right. The similar thing they did whenever they had conquered the women, they still wanted more money, and so they went to conquer the children. Go and Google, just do your own research about how this tobacco company called Camel, C-A-M-E-L, Camel, how they targeted children to make them smoke using cartoons so it would sell more. It's crazy, right? The history of capitalism is plenty, it's a lot. So when this influx of feminism began to come and the average Nigerian woman saw it as freedom from oppression and all that, I mean, of course, was there no legitimate reason? Of course, like I've always been saying, whenever you give any human being, man or woman, unlimited power, there is almost no human being, man or woman, that can resist the temptation to be evil. It is in our DNA to try to subjugate the next human being, man or woman. It is our DNA plan to dominate the next human being against their will, man or woman. All right. And so you can't tell me that there were no abuses. Of course, there must have been abuses. There were good cases, there were bad cases. All right. And then that was what the movement latched onto. Let us hype, expand on the bad cases and use that to push in our movement. Because largely, one of the big reasons is that women were mostly at home, they were not paying taxes. Only men paying taxes, women need more money. So more women in the workplace also means more taxes for the government, so they can get more women working, so they can tax them. But women are like, okay, they can't tax you. All right, so that was more for economic benefit to extract more. And then again, there are probably some positive provisions of the bill of it. However, when you look at the negative provisions of the bill, it meant that you couldn't separate feminism from the real thing that they introduced feminism for, which was, and again, if you look at the issue of feminism actually came either from or parallel to something called the sexual liberation movement. All right, so they paired these two together. This is all American history. It's not our history. They had a history and they just, so it was. But if you Google something called sexual liberation movement, I need to always show receipts because this man-woman matter is a very touchy issue for most. Okay. Thank you. Please tell me about the sexual liberation movement. So I'll keep this screen friendly. History, mechanism, and the lesson. The sexual liberation movement, often called the sexual revolution, was a major cultural shift, especially in the 60s and 70s. At the simplest level, it challenged the older idea that sex should only be discussed privately, controlled by religious morality, restricted to marriage, and judged mainly through shame. But the deeper story is this: sexual liberation was not just about sex; it was about authority. It asked who controls the body: the church, the state, the husband, the family, the doctor, the individual. That is why it became so explosive. Before the sexual revolution, American society was much more publicly conservative. Premarital sex was heavily stigmatized. Divorce carried more shame. Homosexuality was criminalized and treated as a disorder. Contraception was restricted in many places, and women were often expected to tie sexuality to marriage, motherhood, and domestic respectability. Then several forces collided. First, the birth control pill changed the game. In 1960, the FDA approved Enovid, the first commercially produced oral contraceptive pill in the United States. This separated sex from pregnancy in a way that was technologically new at mass scale. It gave women more control over reproduction, education, work, marriage timing, and family planning. Second, the law began to shift. In Griswold versus Connecticut in 1965, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the Connecticut law restricting contraceptive use by married couples, recognizing a constitutional privacy interest around marital contraception. Later, contraception rights expanded further beyond married couples. Third, sex research broke public silence. Alfred Kinsey reports in 48 and 53 showed that Americans' actual private sexual behavior was far more complex than public morality admitted. The Kinsey Institute says those reports helped change public perception of sexuality and became the most influential scientific books of the 20th century. Fourth, feminism changed the political meaning of sex. See, these are the provisions of the bill that will forever be hidden from the common woman or the common man. Many women argued that sexual morality had been applied unequally. Men were allowed sex, were allowed freedom, women were punished with shame. So sexual liberation became tied to women's rights, workplace rights, reproductive rights, divorce rights, and freedom from double standards. Fifth, LGBTQ activism challenged the old order. Everything has been added to the provisions of one single bill. The Stonewall Uprising began on June 69 after a police conflict with LGBTQ people in New York. The Library of Congress described as a turning point that changed the nature of LGBTQ activism in the United States. Now here's the important teaching point. The sexual liberation movement had both real liberating elements and real consequences. On one hand, it attacked hypocrisy, shame, coercion, and double standards. It gave people language for consent, reproductive choice, sexual privacy, women's autonomy, and the rights of people who have been treated as criminals or outcasts. On the other hand, once sexuality was detached from older moral structures, it also became easier for corporations, media, entertainment, advertisers, pornography, the industries, fashion industries, and political movements to turn liberation into a market. It's always market, guy. It's always money. When I say money makes the world go round, it's always money. The American will tell you, follow the money. If you're ever looking for the root of a thing that is mind-boggling, just follow the money. So the same word, freedom, could mean different things depending on who was using it. For a woman denied contraception, freedom might mean control over her reproductive life. For a gay person criminalized by law, freedom might mean not being arrested for existing. For advertisers, freedom might mean using sexuality to sell cars, alcohol, magazines, music, fashion, or attention. For entertainment industries, freedom might mean fewer restrictions on what could be shown, sold, normalized, or monetized. That's the pattern. A genuine human desire gets attached to a broader campaign. Just like grenades attach cigarettes to women's freedom, many later industries learn to attach products and behaviors to the language of liberation. So the wise question is not simply was sexual liberation good or bad. The wiser question is which part was genuine liberation and which part was commercialization. We're in the costume of liberation. That distinction is everything. Because sometimes society really is removing an unjust chain. Other times, someone is just selling you a new chain with better branding. Right? I don't necessarily have to go into it, but again, it's a very touchy issue, so I have to be intentional about how I'm presenting it and show proof where I can. So when that movement came, the negative consequences of that movement began to show. But you see, a new generation of preachers began to emanate, and that generation of preachers were weaker, structurally weaker than the ones that came before them. When I was much younger, right, a pastor, of course, them being seen as the moral arbiters of society, a pastor could say, oh, this thing is wrong, it does not please God, this is what God's matter is on the matter, and that is it. And everybody would be like, oh, anybody who was guilty of that thing would just repent of that thing. I'm like, oh, this is God's mind on this matter. Oh, that would be it. Over time, something began to shift. I've lived long enough to notice the shift from what it used to be and where it is now. A shift began to happen such that if men misbehaved in society, pastors would admonish that. It was normal. It was okay. But when men were to admonish women for something that the pastor needed to caution them on or chastise them on as a spiritual leader, as a shepherd of that flock, whenever he did that with women, he was afraid. And so he had to apply this thing they now started calling balance. Let's balance it. You've lost your balls. Just go away. Let the pagans come and teach your women. You've lost your authority. You've lost your balls. You've lost your moral authority. Take off that mantle. Get out. They're not worth it. Go away. You coward. When you're talking to women about something you have actually seen, it's not an illusion. You saw it. He gets afraid and has to say, after saying that thing to women, you now say, hey, and also men, no. This was to the women this time. You have seen an evil that is growing. It was your responsibility to nip it in the bud. Your responsibility not to eat offering and buy private jets. You didn't do that. But when you did, it was with timidity. You did not bring as much energy as you brought when you were talking to men. You brought it to women. You became afraid of the new generation of women that because church again is business. Church is still capitalism. If you tell women something that maybe hurts their ego, they might leave your church and go to the next church, and you lose their offering, you lose their patronage, you lose their admiration, you lose their adulation. So you have to keep them there at all costs. So if you have to caution women, you have to balance it and say, and men also, you too, when this, no, that never happened in our history until recently, because you became afraid of losing your profits. And it didn't stop there. It began to expand such that pastors could never call women out because they realized that women make up the majority of churches. A lot of men don't go to church. they don't do that stuff anymore. But because you don't want to offend your clientele, you don't want to offend your customer base, they just stopped. Male pastors became feminists to please women. So even in the church, the one place where people should go to receive correction, that the church, they couldn't receive it there anymore. Churches joined what the tobacco companies were doing by affirming women even when they were wrong. And this thing has been growing for years and years and years. And you see, when men sense the switch and the injustice, men don't shout. They just slowly start removing their participation. Now, woman will say you offend, that she will shout, will social media, attention. Men generally, when they're offended by something, they just read the room, and what they do mostly just withdraw their participation. When we hurt or anything, they just withdraw participation. You never know, nothing. And so you see them trying to use emotional blackmail. Why are men not coming to church these days? It's because you have sold out, you've lost your balls, and men do not follow weak men. Women, however, do not understand that level of discernment. That this guy is telling me what I want to hear, just like the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And what he's telling me right now is not necessarily true. He wants my offering. He wants my respect. He wants my consistent recognition. And you see, that's one thing that's lovely about women as well. When women love you as a public figure, one of the biggest ways to blow is for women to love you, right? I remember I was on an interview with Akon was being interviewed, and was it Akon? Yeah, Akon was being interviewed, and he signed a new artist. You know him, T-Pain, right? And then T-Pain wrote a love song and gave it to Akon, right? But at the time, Akon was doing Gangsta. That was his brand at the time. His biggest song at the time was Locked Up. Locked up, won't let me out, no, right? No song, right? So T-Pain wrote a love song. What was my song? Was it I'm in Love with a Stripper? I'm not sure it was that one. But he wrote a song for Akon. Akon said, I don't sing songs for girls. So he said, no, I don't want the song. T-Pain said, what? Okay. So T-Pain now sang the song by himself and released it, and the song was a hit. As soon as the song was a hit, Akon was like, wow, please give me that's what T-Pain now started singing love songs. He now started singing lonely, I am so lonely, I got nobody. Right? Because he clocked it that, the best way to blow is to get women to love you, because women's love is generally louder than men's love. All right? Even me, how did I blow? It's mostly my female audience. Men love me, I think. I'm thankful to the men. But see the women that like me, they're very loud about it. They're very loud about it. They will shout your name, they will post you, they will bring more people to say, this part, so it's an amazing thing. But it's the thing you sell your soul for. Because you want the love of women and the support that they bring when they are emotionally appreciative of your message, of your movement, you now tell them lies, you affirm them, and you give up your role as the father of the church. So over the years, this has been happening, and men have really been clocking it, and men have been growing a silent resentment. Again, if it was a loud resentment, it would have been better, because somebody who is resentful, at least let them be talking, so he knows in their mind. But when you're not talking, you have no idea what's going on. It was that silent resentment that gave rise to Andrew Tate, and a lot of you just knew Andrew Tate as the Tate was not the first person that came up. Andrew Tate just has he had charisma and strategy on how to blow on social media, so he's the first one you know. He's not the first person in the whole red pillar. It has been growing silently, dangerously. And now here comes the Nigerian version. When a woman does something, it is forbidden to say that a woman has done something wrong. And that's okay, the master will always be crazy. But even in the church, that's supposed to be the moral authority, they've lost your balls. And then comes a man that, and generally, the weapon that society has against any man that would say anything to caution women is shame. They call you name, everybody just maintains because they don't want to be called out, they want to be insulted. And then comes a man who doesn't care about the insult, who enjoys the insult as a matter of fact, who will become an actual clown to show you that you cannot shame the shameless. That's his brand. When he comes out, of course, naturally there'll be initial resistance to see whether he'll cower away. And then he shows more balls than your pastors. Why would Nigerian men not gravitate around him? Why would he not? Because you give up your authority. So, and the danger of bequeathing authority to these action figures like Gege, you don't understand how dangerous it is. It should have been you, Mr. Pastor. But now, you lost your balls. Gege took your balls, added it to his own, and he's out there calling out the evil that women do. But you see, that is the name of the bill. You look into the provisions of the bill, and you see how even that will destroy society even more. Because if we look deeper at the provisions of the bill, so to speak, from the Geges and people like him, listen carefully to what they're saying. It sounds liberating, especially to young men, because actually, young men of today, they seem to behave like women actually, in the same way that in the sense that the same way that the serpents seduced and deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden story, you can seduce a modern man in the same way. I don't know where the shift happened, but so it is. And so when you look at the provisions of the bill, so to speak, with that analogy, has Gege ever told you to be a man of integrity? Has Andrew Tate ever told you to be a man of integrity? Has Andrew Tate ever, why he has told you that, men should take care of themselves more? I agree. Men should not be fooled by evil women. Yes, but keep talking. See, people are not smart enough to keep on investigating the roots of a thing. It says is the glory of God to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings to search it out. And most people are not kings. Search it. What else are you saying, sir? Because if you're really listening, you start to hear the devil. And what is he saying? He's saying, no, they take this girl seriously. Just knock them, leave them. Okay? Is that where we are now? Oh, wow. I thought this started out from liberating men. Okay. Now we see that the same spirit that works in you is the same one that brought feminism. You just want degeneracy and the destruction of the family unit. But this should not have happened if the pastors had done what their own duty was. So now you have women that are crazy. You also have men that are crazy. You have men that are, I don't want to take any woman serious. I will just knock them away. That's the thing now. Just tell me one time Andrew Tate or Gege or people like them have ever told you to be a man of moral uprightness, or to not break people's hearts, or to keep your word. Never. On the contrary, tell me a time that Andrew Tate or Gege have explicitly said, don't take them seriously, fuck them and leave them. Oh, multiple times. But you'll shut your ears to that because you enjoy the gassing up, don't you? So when I was saying initially that, I understand the emergence of Gege, people that don't understand, deeper thinking, no, I don't support it. I don't. I've listened enough to understand the spirit that powers him. And I shake my head for you guys because you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. And so that's that. It's not even the main thing I wanted to even talk about, but that's where we that's where we are. Because if the spiritual leaders had taken their mantle or their responsibility seriously, when the women are wrong, caution them. We still have some preachers like that, but they're the older generation and they've died and gone. Right? Caution them. And that'll be the end of the matter. So that when men misbehave too, you have the full moral authority to caution them and clean them out. When they misbehave, what? I remember back then, old time, churches like to practice serious discipline. Hey, back then, when they discipline you in the church, you do something bad. What? And they did it because they really do. That was moral. No, none of that. It's all, come on, see, the worst people, the most morally bankrupt people, they're the ones that post all these Hallelujah Challenge pass. Because now it's about, the God that does this for you, God that does this for you. Is that what you're here for? Just don't say anything about your lifestyle. Don't, just let it be. Forget that the other side is watching. When was Abaton? You called us out. When is Abaton? You're saying, let's just allow it. Oh, they'll be quiet until one liberator from anywhere comes. And as you know, carry anything, give human being hand. You can never tell which way to go, whether it's become an extremist or, there's a story that comes to mind here that will drive this home, right? If you've seen the movie, I don't think that story really aligns with what I'm about to say. Okay, it does. If you've seen the movie, it's a movie called Kingdom of Heaven. All right, Kingdom of Heaven, lovely movie. I think the director of the movie was Ridley Scott, I think. Kingdom of Heaven is the movie from whence that King Baldwin meme came from. That way he does that thing, that king that wears a mask, and he does that salute that became a sensation on social media. The reason he wears a mask, and that's from a true life story, it was actually a real King Baldwin of Jerusalem. He wore that mask because he had leprosy, and so his face was disfigured by leprosy, so he wore the mask and so on. Right, so in the movie, King Baldwin was king of Jerusalem at the time, but because of his leprosy, he couldn't have children, he didn't marry, but he had a sister, and he was going to die soon. In that time, the people were at war with the Arabs. The Arabs were fighting with the Christians for who would control Jerusalem. The Christians believed that was their holy site. The Muslims believed that was their holy site as well. So they were both at war in that time. I think the leader of the Muslims was Salahuddin, a very historical Islamic figure as well. So the movie portrayed all of that part of history. So he was going to die, and because he didn't have any children, transfer of power was going to be a bit dicey. Now, he couldn't just transfer power to his sister. She was not directly in line. It would have been better if his sister had a male child somehow, then that would have just worked. But his sister was unmarried as well. So the calculation was that, okay, power would, if he died, the seat would be vacant temporarily. It would somewhat pass on to his sister, but she had an ultimatum that she had to get married within, I don't know, maybe 30 days. There was an amount of time given to her. She had to get married within a specific amount of time, and whoever she got married to would become king, and that king would lead them to war and all of that. So because of that, she had to be very prudent about who she chose to marry, because that person would decide the fate of the entire kingdom. Now, she had to think about this very carefully. She needed somebody who was gifted at the art of war. She also needed somebody who had a good heart. All right, hard to find, but she was looking around, right? But again, in the movie, she's not supposed to be the one to generally approach man. The eligible men were supposed to come and present themselves to her, and then she would choose. Now, the most eligible person was the highest ranking general. What's his name, right? That general was a proper bastard, right? And he was the most eligible suitor. She knew that this guy would be a terrible king. She could not choose him. There was somebody else in the army who was a perfect gentleman. I think she really liked him, was a fine boy, actually. That's the Orlando Bloom character. That's the main reason that he was a fine boy. But anyway, according to the story, he was actually a good man. All right, he was strong character, noble, perfect gentleman, and he was also a pretty well decorated soldier. Not the highest ranking, but good enough, right? But this perfect gentleman was not presenting himself as a suitor. And the queen was losing her mind. Like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, this guy will be the perfect king. He's well-mannered. He's a good man, genuinely good man. High level of, he's an honorable man. You know what? But he's not coming forward. The person that's not coming forward is a brute, an idiot. Like, he's a real bastard, right? But the younger guy was not coming forward because he didn't want to overstep his superior, that is the general. When the general is moving forward and you, the lower official, wants to move forward, it's seen as maybe usurping authority, right? So, since the general was the only one coming forward, the queen said, look, normally woman only pursue man, but since proverbially, since the mountain will not come to Muhammad, the blessed this mountain will come to Muhammad. So she sent some of her messengers to arrange a private meeting between her and that young soldier. What's his name in the movie, right? So she I think he didn't even know who he was going to see, but the messenger went, gave him the message, and led him into one dark corridor or a dark alley where the queen was there. She was wearing a veil to cover her face, so people would not see that it was her. And then they spoke, and she asked him, "Why are you not presenting yourself as a suitor? Don't you see that the kingdom, hangs on the balance? She expressed her thoughts, but his own idea of uprightness was that I cannot go above my general, and she was so upset. I can't remember the full conversation. I can watch the whole movie, but her parting words from that conversation was, "One day you are going to wish you did a little." This paraphrasing, I can't remember the exact words. She said, "One day I'm going to wish you did a little evil for a much greater good," and she walked away. Anyway, the time for her to get married or to the suitor elapsed, and once it elapsed, the only man standing was the general, and so they got married. He became king. The first thing he did when he had authority in his hand like this, power in his hand, there was a particular guy who was a war criminal. He did something very bad that the late King Baldwin put in prison for his crime. It was such a bad crime that King Baldwin had to apologize to Salahuddin, the leader of the Muslims. They were fighting, they were adversaries, but he was an honorable man. Salahuddin too was an honorable man. He told Salahuddin, "I apologize, please. The person who did this thing is going to be dealt with, even though he's on my side." And he took that guy and put him in prison. As soon as Baldwin died and this general came to power, he went to go and release that guy. He said, "Oh yeah, you are now in control of the army. Give me a real war." And that guy, he was a real bastard. He went ahead, he found King Salahuddin's sister somewhere in the fields, and he slaughtered her. Normally, you don't kill royalty, He slaughtered Salahuddin's sister when Salahuddin heard. Normally, Salahuddin was following rules of engagement too. When he brought his wrath on that city, destroyed it. He could not forget. His men were even asking him, "Wow, like that?" Because everybody needs Salahuddin to be a merciful leader. They asked him, "Would you show mercy?" He said, "I cannot." Leveled it. Everybody who were granted safe passage at the end of the war, they left, even the queen, everybody, they left that city with nothing but the clothes on their back. It was a decimation. That's not one of those movies that had a happy ending. He decimated them. And so the movie is a cautionary tale to be very careful of who you hand power to. Not just political power, but sometimes the power of rhetoric, sometimes moral authority, sometimes the power to even be the voice of any group that is marginalized. You see, I lived in Dubai for 2 years. I lived in Qatar for 1 year. You see, most of these Gulf, and Dubai is actually it's actually one emirate in the country called the United Arab Emirates. People think Dubai is a country. So let me just rephrase that. I lived in the UAE for 2 years, lived in Qatar for 1 year now. The UAE and Qatar, there are countries in a coalition of, I think, 5 or so countries called the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, Arab countries. That's Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, Bahrain, a couple of other guys. All right. And all those countries, they have very conservative laws. But you see, if there's any injustice to a woman in those countries, these leaders, they understand the game of life. Arab leaders, oh boy. They don't allow a foreign power come and act as if they are the savior of women, because they know where it will lead. These foreign powers are not here for your own good. And women generally are too gullible to see that. They will accept help from wherever it comes. They will accept salvation from wherever it comes. They will accept deliverance from wherever it comes. They will accept provisions from wherever it comes. All right? Leadership understands that. So they don't let help come from outside. If there's any injustice to women in their land, they treat it speedily. Quickly. The time America was trying to yank the chain of Saudi Arabia, saying, women, why did the men make you wear all of this? And they said, they don't make us. We feel dignified wearing this. Thanks, but no thank you. Yeah, keep that shit to the brainless Africans. We're good over here. They drew a line in the sand. Go to Qatar, go to the UAE, go to these countries. They wear their hijabi and everything with pride. Their net worth will turn your net worth to coins. They don't suffer, they're fine, they're good. And of course, doesn't mean every man is good. In any case where there's any issue, the government intervenes speedily. The court system, if you live in the UAE, ask people here that live in the UAE or in Qatar, they will tell you. Their court know they are doing anything. No. Sharp. Whatever happens. Sharp, you swift justice. So the women never feel like, oh, we need to take matters into our own hands, we have to defend ourselves, or whenever America offers us help, we should know they are well covered by leadership. Once men take their excesses quickly, straight to trial, the punishment is swift, immediate, everybody hears this, and it's an example to everybody else. Everybody behaves. what we have today, the people who should be in charge of just adjudicating properly, they themselves are compromised. So why would the Cider Boys not come out and radicalize gullible women? Why would the gay not come out and do his own on the side? Why would Andrew Tate not come out and say, and then society is decaying even further? So yeah, that's what I was, that's what I meant. This took me on a whole different path. But anyway, I'm glad that me and the Oracle had a very fruitful conversation at the beginning, before I digress into the whole thing, the whole social matters. Yeah, I could have just explained myself in 30 minutes, but with delicate matters like this, it's a lot of nuance, and you have to build precept upon precept, context upon context before you bring the whole thing together, and that's why it took so long to explain. But that's that. So I was just saying, somebody from last week put a comment from the comment, I just knew who you listen to, and he said, "Oh, not give him my money." I understand. Well, that spirit is coming from somewhere. If you don't have discernment, you won't see it. That spirit is coming from somewhere. If you listen hard enough and with an open mind, properly open mind, you hear where he's coming from. It's to reinforce the spirit of degeneracy, to invalidate the validity of the family unit, and so on, which is one of the real reasons feminism exists. It's not feminism is riding on a legitimate concern to push something very grotesque, and for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the world is just going to go into chaos. But anyway, that's that. I hope that helps you all. So I just hope you guys just be more discerning, be more discerning, because genuinely, really, things are not always as they seem. Who you think is for you may not really be for you. Who you think is against you as well may not necessarily be against you. Stuff like that, man. It is tough indeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's no more time again. It's already really, really late, and I don't like keeping you guys from church. But let me just run through something really quick. So here's another thing. During the week, right, I was thinking, I had some really big ideas. And I think I mentioned it on one of the night school sessions, that I'm having a feeling that some of my bigger conversations around business and capitalism and sovereignty and wealth building for the third world African, they really should have their dedicated sessions. And if you remember, I think a couple of years ago, I used to do just dedicated workshops just to talk about money and nothing else. We did a business breakthrough workshop. Some of you have access to that. We did the limitless lifestyle blueprints. Some of you have access to that. So I'm thinking I need to create like a 2-day program. We used to do that some years ago, but I've not done that in a while. So we just do like a 2-day program, 2-day or 3-day program. Instead of stretching for hours, you just do like maybe 2 to 3 hours per day, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We normally start those classes from 8 p.m. So Friday to Sunday, 8 p.m. daily, and we tackle an agenda per day, day 1, day 2, day 3. We just do it in that fashion. Because of night school, we may have to use a day of the week for that. So those of you who have to go to work, you have to really round up what you're doing really quickly so that we can start the class. I want you to start the class by 7 p.m. Work should close by when? Maybe 4 or 5. So get home, settled in, and by 7 we start. We should do like maybe 7 to 10. Do it like 2 days or 3 days, and that would really cover those things. So it would likely be just me, only me, just handling, because I have a lot to open up. That night school itself, because again, night school is not about money. Remember, it's not about business, it's not about money. Though I also bring in business and money, but it's not about money. It's about the game of life. All right. But in order to really serve you with that concentrated idea of capitalism and money and all of that, we need to have separate sessions for that. So I will work on that this week and communicate that to you. But let me quickly run through a couple of things I had here. So at the beginning, I was saying that the modern man or woman needs to figure out a way to get rich as soon and as quickly as possible. And there's an old program that I want to dismantle. All right. And which is that you hear some people say things like, I don't need a lot of money to be happy. And that's fine. People say what they want to say for themselves. They can want what they want for themselves. But when they project it toward you or at you, you need to be very careful of imbibing that. Oh, I don't need that much to be happy. Success means different things to different people. My dear brother and sister in Christ, or whatever you believe, let me clearly. I'm smelling something like smoke. That's what I was trying to sniff to ensure that I wasn't smelling. I can smell something smoky. Anyway, everyone can say whatever they like, but it doesn't apply to you as an African, right? It may have applied to you centuries ago, pre-colonialism, right? But in this world of cutthroat capitalism, that whole saying of, success means, no, don't tell me that nonsense. I saw, like, especially on TikTok, you see a Caucasian woman who is well off saying, this is what success means to me, And she said, being seen by my partner, living a life of love and oneness. Oh, my dear, this is that good. But let's not get it twisted, because Nigerian ladies now, we see that on our echo the same shit. You are fucking African, right? If you understand the meaning of third world, you know why I get really uncompromising and single-minded in my communications. I'm not mincing words or trying to be compromising. No, I'm telling you exactly what I mean and what I want you to think. This is not, okay, it's open to interpretation. Everybody has their own definition of success. To some people, just having good health is success. No. Having good health is having good health. Success is bastard money, period. Because there are consequences to having inferior definitions of success. Yes, there are inferior definitions of success, and there are superior ones. Success is when, your family loves you. No. Your family loves you means that your family loves you. Shift that aside. Success means success. Don't weaken its definition, at least in your head. When you want to say whatever you want to say to the masses, so that they don't start rioting, that's okay. But in your head, success is your only salvation. Let me show you something. I deleted the video from my laptop. That scene from House of Rothschild, I deleted my laptop. But don't worry, I don't need to play it. It's not necessary. I don't want to. Wait. I don't know if this, I have it here, but I don't know if this scene has what I'm looking for. Let me just play and see what I see.
You are 5 brothers. I want you each to start a banking business in a different...
It's not this one. He was the one talking, the clip is not here. But when he was talking to his children, he was like, money is the only, when he was shouting, money is the only hope of the Jew. The Jew is so oppressed. Money is the only hope. Money is the only thing we have. We have to get money. Money. He indoctrinated his children, and he was right at the time, because that was during the Holocaust, when the Jews were being killed and oppressed by Nazi Germany. He told them many times, money, you have to get money, and this is the business you're going to. All right? And so you have to understand. I mean, I know the love of money is affordable. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, you must have it. All right, in bastard amounts. I'm so impressed with the lady who sent that email that we read out earlier when she was 18, and she asked 10 million. To be honest with you, when I read the email, because I didn't see that 10 million. It's now when I'm reading to the oracle that I now saw it. It's like, I will charge this money. I don't know say she get money like that. I was just beating her like 18 years old. She don't get money, and I want to help her. So let me find a way to, that's why I have 10 million saved up. Sister, you're my ideal customer now. But then that's on the lighter side. But I was very impressed that at that age, thinking, like, I don't know where she got her mindset from. I don't know. That's outstanding. Outstanding. Like, what the hell? Where did you learn all that when you start gathering so much clout at your age? Jesus, who trained you? It's amazing. It's so amazing. How? It's not very common. It's not very typical in these parts. And it's amazing. It's commendable. Okay. She's already making way for herself. She's creating products, creating demand for the products, serving an audience that appreciates her work and rewards her diligently for it. Whoa, bro, that was so good. So you gotta take it seriously, because society that will try to weaken you at first, they're gonna shame you later on when you feel that life, or if you've not went by this way. Okay, if you feel that life, you don't feel that life by this way. Okay, right? You don't know growing up that every society is very hypocritical. Society is two-faced. With one hand, they'll try to slow down the momentum. Oh, let children be children. It's too early. Allow them play. Allow them be children. Wink, wink. They know they want their own children to surpass you. Because when you grow up, you will not realize the bitter and sad truth about life, especially as a Nigerian, that everybody spits at you because you don't have money. And you don't have money, you're crying. But unfortunately, that's what society has become. You will face the worst indignities. They will treat criminals, abusers, rapists, murderers. They will treat them better than you. Though you are righteous or poor. That the way it should be? No. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And so, as a young person, you cannot play with the idea of, I want to be rich. But what does it mean to be rich? Where will it come from? How do I architect this path? And I've always told you guys, separate yourself from poor people's conversations. They don't know nothing about this topic. They cannot help you. They will only keep you in that frequency of scarcity and stupidity. They have been blinded. The God of this world has blinded their eyes. They never know what they're doing. Separate yourself. The young lady here separated herself. In those circumstances. Look what she's doing. Of course, I had some advice on how that could happen, but that's okay. It's happened. Good. And start to think, what is the way? How do I move? All right. I was going to give examples. I don't know if I have time today, but you guys just indulge me a bit. This one just not plenty like this. So you have to first of all, okay, where am I? Most people don't know where you are. Where am I? In this country, what does it mean to be rich? Most people don't know. And society keeps you suppressed, repressed, depressed, and all the other est that you can think of, such that you feel relieved to just get a means to eat. What that means to eat is going to be the trap, because it will consume your years. Before you know it, you are 30. Before you know it, you are 40. Before you know it, you are 50, and all that time is gone. Because the track that leads you to survival is very different from the track that leads you to wealth. The mindset you need to have for somebody who build wealth is different from the mindset of somebody who is trying to survive. The kind of choices a man who is trying to build long-term wealth should have is very different from the kind of mindset someone who is trying to survive would have. So because a lot of you were coming from survival, you had to make certain choices and choose low-hanging fruit. And I've told you guys before, I was once there. My first hustle was web design. I joke about it now. My first hustle. Because first of all, I didn't have anybody to teach me about the game of wealth. I learned this whole stuff on the way. I had to survive at first. I had to find a way to pay my bills and live some sort of dignified existence anyhow. I didn't want to do crime. So yeah, I did my website design. But somehow, God being so merciful to me, who sent his angels to whisper to me at night and during the day. And those whispers would rise up into my consciousness as impressions. I have these impressions. I have this impression that this thing I'm doing, I can't get rich with this. Nobody told me. It just came, illuminated in my head. I can't get rich doing this thing. Survive with it now, okay, keep on with it, but keep your mind open, because we need to learn how we're really going to get rich. And because of that, my mind was open. When the opportunity came, a friend of mine came and told me about something new. It was called social media, online PR, ads in 2013. I said, hey, what's this thing? I started reading about it. I started evolving from there. And the path started opening. I began to do more and more things, and it led me down this path. I've been learning all these years and completing what I've been learning. And so very early, you must have decided, okay, do I want to make money? All right, how much money do I want to make? One man will say, when I just get money. When was I just get money? Like, there's no such thing as getting money. There's no such thing. What do you mean? Don't allow this demonic idea to take root of your mind. It will make you poor. There's no such thing as when I have money. Such a stupid thing that poor people say. I don't want it to take root in your head. And why do I call it stupid? Because no matter how much, when I get money, first of all, money has quantity. How much money are we talking about? And when you have it, when it comes in that at once, it's not a testimony, it's a prayer point. I remember when I made my first million, I was not testimonial. I was afraid. Listen, when I made my first million, December 2014, Naira, not dollars, Naira. I was afraid. I was $3 million that came at once, $1 million. I was afraid. Why? Because all my life I had no struggle. And I was afraid that I will waste this money and go back to where I was coming from. I didn't want to go back to where I was coming from. I was so afraid. Thank God, God helps me. Thank God, though. So it's not money you're looking for. What you're really looking for is a source of money that will keep on producing for you repeatedly. And the mindset now starts to change, because when you change your mindset from when I get money, when you change it to when I get an income source that pays me X amount of money annually or monthly, good, because now we're getting somewhere. Because when you say an income source that pays me X amount of money every month, you now start thinking, that income source, where will it come from? Is it going to come from a highly paid job that pays me that amount of money monthly? People who get those jobs, what do they normally study? What kinds of degrees and certifications do they need to have? Where do they need to apply? What kind of referees would assist with this? Are there any mentorships or internships that would facilitate this? How do I get positioned to get the kind of job or the kind of career that produces X amount of money repeatedly every month or every year? And then you start making preparations for that path. Or where else can that money come from? Will that money come from a business? Because I'm not the career type, I'm the entrepreneurial business type. Okay. For me to have an income that pays me X amount of money repeatedly every week or every month or every year, what kind of business produces that kind of income repeatedly? What kind of business? that starts to teach you that not all businesses are equal. It starts to teach you that not all careers are equal. If you had asked all these questions, some of you would never have become nurses and spent all that time. And after the system has scammed you into choosing a low-paying path, you just ask the question at the end, so I'm a nurse, how do I optimize for wealth? I'm sorry, you chose the wrong income vehicle for that, because they don't pay nurses that kind of money, at least in Nigeria. You cannot get rich with your salary as a nurse. Well, that's okay. Maybe you're already here now. What do you do from here? Fine. This is your rebirth. It's time to start renewing your mind. Stop posting all those memes of, oh, when I have money. Now you'll never have money. That's not how it works. That's not the mindset. The mindset is when I have the vehicle or the machine that produces X amount of money repeatedly, because if money comes once, it will finish. Lifestyle creep will enter. You have to feed your children. You have to, live a dignified existence. You've got to live somewhere. You've got to eat. You've got to move around. You've got to look good. You've got to handle your medicals, including emergencies and maintenance. You've got to do things. Whatever amount of money that's your hand right now, it will finish unless there is a machine that produces it for you consistently. Now, the creation of that machine is what you need to spend time and focus on. So if you study nursing and all that, now you're not going to make that money doing nursing. You start thinking, okay, what else can I do? Is it going to be a business? And you write that on paper. On paper, just draft it out. What are the kinds of businesses that are capable of creating that machine that can produce it for me repeatedly? Right? You know, there are some of you that big money has entered your hand. No, tell me the truth. How many of you has big money entered your hand? And instead of you to be happy and celebrate, your heart starts to pound because you're afraid. You're afraid. Why? Maybe you're not able to articulate what you're afraid of, but I can help you articulate it. What you're afraid of is that you know that the thing that produces this big money is not repeatable. And that this money, it will finish. This money will finish. And once it finishes, hey, you know what you saw the last time? You know the palpitations of financial anxiety, owing debts, owing house rents, losing face in society because you can't fulfill financial obligations. You remember all those things. And you know that this money that just comes is just a little bit of relief on the next period of Sapa. So at least you understand on some level that it's not about having money. Now, poor man, they project that kind of, idea into your head. Right? The real thing is about creating that machine that keeps on paying. Okay, I give an example and I asked, and some people are saying that they can relate. Okay, let me give you another compressed example now, and I'll ask you, right? How many of you, maybe you had some money around and there was an investment that came up, maybe one of these agri companies, or maybe an MMM, or one thing that's still investments, and you put substantial money, a couple millions or a few 100,000 into that investment opportunity, and it crashed. It's painful. Nobody likes to lose money, but you just shrug it off because you know that next month another one will come. How many of you have been in that situation? Tell me. How many of you have been in that situation? How many of you? I'll be in that situation. I'll be there. It means I've lost money too, right? It's life. It's the game of life. You win some, you lose some, right? But when you lose, you're like, oh shit, we lost, but it's cool. We'll just go make more. Right? There you go. Wait if it is now. So I put 100K into motivation. It happens. But because you have an engine, you're not just living, as we say, from feast to famine, but there's an engine that you spent time and focus and energy and wit creating. You know, like, that sucks, but it's okay. We'll just go make more. We'll just go make more. It's cool. Right? No, I'm not Ponzi, but I'm saying like, I'm just giving a range between legitimate business opportunities and maybe Ponzi schemes and the likes. Right? You can lose money even on a supposedly legitimate business idea that did not quite work out. It happens. Shit happens. But when you have a machine that produces, it doesn't mean you should be wasteful about it, but it gives you a kind of, a wall of defense. If you lose, you're not going to lose your home. You're not going to, your family's lifestyle won't be visibly impacted. You might need a couple of months to recover, but you'll be good and you've learned a lesson. So the creation is not just, when I get money, just have money. That people say in Nigeria very carelessly, just get money now. No, it's not to get money. It's to get a machine that produces money. All right. Now, what kind of machine is that going to be? Because that now gets you thinking, what kind of business do I need to create that will be giving me X amount of money consistently every single month? And then you start sampling all the options that exist and you start shortlisting to figure out which ones you might be a better fit for. All right. You try so many things. Just try a little bit of things. All right. You see somebody, even the way they talk, YouTube automation, or you try a couple of things. You try Forex. Forex, you generally lose your money, but at least, it's not a bad thing to try a thing and fail. All right. Some of you have to go into Forex and lose your money. It's the lesson you learn losing your money in Forex will actually be helpful in other areas of your life. Right. So maybe you need to lose your money. We learn a lot from failure. Right. Try out Forex. If you lose, that's okay. Move on to the next. You try out crypto, right? You try out, you join the movement, get indoctrinated and all that. You lose your money. It's okay. It's part of the learning process, right? At least if you learn TA, and I'll talk about a little bit about Forex and co, but I don't think to fit into this conversation. You try something, maybe somebody brings an idea, maybe buying and selling of something. You try it out, maybe you may not be widely successful, or maybe it's mildly successful. Like you see that if I put more potential, more time into this thing, it could become more. Okay, you start. Okay, maybe let me try some more. Before you discover something new, and that becomes a whole new thing. You treat it like your baby, like with the farmer mindset. Not the hunter mindset. You protect it, you feed it, you nurture it, you invest in it, you're prudent about it, you're more diligent, you're disciplined. All right, like, listen, making money, trying to get rich with clean money, it's not very easy. You can't just mess and say you want to get wealthy with clean money. You better just go and do 419. Just relax and go and do 419, which I don't know if to make it. If you go to jail, well, I guess you learned. I guess you go learn, right? But my point really is that making money trying to get rich with clean money is not as easy. You've got to be really diligent. You've got to be smart. You've got to be innovative. You've got to be creative. You've got to be, you've got to be what we call a high agency person who can really have an idea and follow it through. You don't have somebody chasing you around doing accountability for you. You should hold yourself to account. Wake up early, go to bed on time. Do this, do that. Nobody just say, don't follow bad guys. Don't do this. No, you're a high agency person. You've got to follow this thing through, right? So you start looking at what are the business models that I can follow. All right, what are the different business models? And it's early. You start doing those things very early. Start thinking about it. All right, and I'm giving you ideas about how business works. All right, the only reliable way you make money is by exchanging something of value. All right. Now, there are so many things of value you can exchange. Look for the one that you are best suited for. The number one skill at the bottom is selling. And I told you guys 2 episodes ago that the only skills you need to have, the most important skills you need to have, are the same skills that the Old Testament God used to create the world and currently and and perpetually use this to administer the universe. All right, creativity, I said, and innovation, delegation, right, sales. Write the vision and make it big. You can't be shy. You got to be a good spokesperson for it. How do I get customers? Go into the world and make disciples of all men. All right, that is sales. That is recruitment. All right, you got to be able to sell your idea to people. Come, I will make you a fisher of men. In my father's house, there are many mansions. If it wasn't so, I would not have told you. All right, that's selling. You're selling them on an idea. You're selling them on an incentive to get what you have. All right, I'm going to have this mindset. Oh, cool. You make money by selling stuff, and then you realize as well that not everything you sell are created equal. You understand the difference between markets. All right, that's selling for everybody. You may want to be in a career as well. That's a different path. We're trying to figure out all the different paths. What are the different paths? All right, how do I actually create this machine? And then that's why I said entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development course ever. Because through entrepreneurship, it teaches you time management. It teaches you accountability. So all this, freedom, do what I want to know. You must be disciplined. You must be disciplined. You look at the things that I create, like the Oracle and all those things. You know how hard I work and how long I work. You know the sacrifices that I have to make in my social life because I want this thing to come out right. Yeah, you got to. So you got to figure out what that is and be diligent at it. All right. You got to find a way to get apprenticeship because you don't know it all. Apprenticeship has been the easiest way. Although people like this, rich parents hustle to get their children internships. It's unpaid, but they know that they will learn from the best. Find a way. Today it's through mentorship. You know what I'm saying now? Everybody's afraid of taking mentees. Because everybody's with the get rich quick mentality, everybody's living in survival. Your mentee will come in and they have no morals, they have no scruples, they will steal what you have and disappear. They'll take your business secrets and sell to the next person. And I mean, if you're mentor me, Oga, don't worry. I will do it myself. I'm afraid of you. I can't tell you, Oga, but I'm afraid of you. I don't know where you're coming from, I don't know where you're going to. I don't know what is inside you. I'm afraid of you. Allow me to do myself. Thank you. Hey, it's out of volunteer. No, worry. I will do it myself. If you do have your operate another oracle, I'll do that thing also for me. The oracle will not betray me. You understand? But normally apprenticeship should be the way. You learn from somebody, and in return, you have your own obligation to such a person. Me, today, people who have ever taught me throughout my journey, in my heart, I have a code of honor that I owe them wherever. I think the only public speaking event I ever did last year, the only one I did last year was because somebody who taught me called me and said, see, these people are trying to reach you. They want you to speak at their events. Before he reached out to me, I've been seeing their emails and ignoring it. I hardly do public speaking like that again. Since 2022 or 21. When have you seen me public? Very, very few. I'm like Santa Claus. They never see me for real life. I receive emails every day. Oh, speak about it. I don't go anywhere else. Night school is my only podium. I don't go anywhere. But because somebody who has taught me before reached out to me and said, how far my people are trying to reach you? I said, people are there. He said, and I said, oh, sorry, sir. Okay. And I responded, and that's the one event I spoke at last year. And I did. But today, I don't know. If people hold such code of honor, I doubt it. I doubt it. But anyway, that's a different conversation. So yeah, apprenticeship, very important. All right. And then while you're climbing up the ranks, you have to learn the larger game of capitalism. And then I'm just rushing now because time is fast spent. That's partly what I was talking to the Oracle about. That I said I want to bring in the examples of Dangote and the Otedolas and co. Who's the Igbo businessman I mentioned? Some people were saying it's Koshari. Koshari is a fantastic businessman, but he's not the person I was thinking of. His first name is Arthur. He's an Igbo, I think, billionaire. I'm not sure if he's a billionaire, but his name is Arthur. Thank you. Arthur Eze. Thank you, mechanic. Yeah, let me write it down. So I'm going to use these three as case studies. Prince Arthur Eze, then Dangote, and Otedola. Those are the only three in my head. I think so. Okay. All right. So you start to learn the larger levers of capitalism because Jesus, I've already like overshot my time and I feel so bad keeping you up at this time. I'm telling you, as I can't put out my thoughts again. But let me just try and use 15 minutes to just breeze through it. Then I'll try and create different separate like 2-3 day events to focus on just this. But let me do my best. All right. So when Nigerians look at the wealthy Nigerians, like the billionaires, they have these illusions and delusions of how they made their money, and which is why I recommended this book, Making It Big. It doesn't mean that you necessarily make it big by reading this book, but you see, I've always told you that the ways of the elite are not your ways, all right? Whenever these people are able to make it, their fortunes, you will never know how. You only hear rumors and unfounded news here and there, but they never talk. Have you ever listened to Dangote speak on any of those podcasts or interviews and he tells you how he makes his money? Never. There's never anything that you can use. It's you will never see anybody, even all the bank MDs that give interviews, their story is not there. Okay, Jim Ovia's book was a good. Jim Ovia was a book in 2014-15. Yes, that one was a very good one. There were some updates there that will be. Jim Ovia, I think it was the first making it big. Actually, it's just that book didn't have a lot of publicity. I don't know why. It didn't have enough publicity as well. But that Jim Ovia's book was a very good one as well. I can't remember the name of the book. I can't remember. That book was a very good one. But in the rare instances where these 1% of the 1% people maybe write a book about grab it, buy the truth and sell it. No, that's what it means. So that leads me now to the thing I said at the beginning, where somebody made a joke that's on Twitter. I'm sorry, on TikTok and also on Instagram, and said that when I open the book and I see he starts his journey for UK and I close the book, say more. That means not UK. And that's not. And people started laughing and making jokes. No, you are missing something, and that's okay. And that's okay. Let them make jokes. I don't care. People I care about are those that are watching me live. So 2 things. Follow the forward of this book. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She wrote the forward for the book, and then the first introduction to the book says setting off into entrepreneurship. All right. Now, one of the reasons why I love this book is that it helps to corroborate some things I've been teaching you guys since 2015. All right. On 18th December 1958, in North London's St. Pancras Borough, a modest wedding ceremony took place between 2 unlikely lovebirds. So that was in North London. My parents had studied at London's Regent Street Polytechnic. My dad read journalism, while my mom studied catering. So now you know that my people's life started where? In London. What have I been telling you about location? I remember when I said in 2017 or 18, when I said that an American passport is more powerful than your Nigerian master's degree. But unfortunately, I was still talking to poor people at the time. I don't talk to poor people anymore. I only talk to my community now. Poor people have to beg to see me. They invite me today. I don't go anywhere. If you don't find your way into night school, when I'm recording, you can't hear me speak. Right? So when I said it, then yeah, of course, the God of this world has blinded your eyes. And your destiny is to remain in that cycle. So maybe one day God has mercy on your soul and helps you find the truth. All right? And so you realize that this person you've been idolizing for a long time, billions, when he started his life in the UK. What does that mean? Probably, very likely, he's a UK citizen. What does that tell you? It tells you something I've been telling you since. That you see, the people who rewrote the rules of the modern world to succeed, this is their world. Even Nigeria is theirs. You get independence, good for you. But they wrote the rules of how we live today. In order to play it big here, you have to go and learn from the people that wrote the rules you are playing under. I told you guys that years ago, and I told that this year too. And so the people that have made it big the most, they have gone to connect to the center of power, which is not Abuja. It is either London, or rather it's either the United Kingdom, or the United States. You see it here. First chapter tells you, London. You get an understanding of what capitalism is, not business. Business is included in capitalism, but capitalism is not just business. There's so much more. Because, let me just say this one, I just breeze through, all right? There's an aspect of capitalism that controls wealth generation that business does not fully cover. Business has a limitation, all right? Okay, mechanics says leaving the tarmac, buying a bank in Africa. Okay, I didn't know that book existed. If he wrote that book, that would be a good one too. Okay, that would be a good one. So business is just mostly productive activity. And so when you have a business, your net worth, if you're doing a good business, a highly profitable business, that's fantastic. Your net worth, will increase very well, but is limited by the lesser law of business. Because listen, business is what our forefathers did, and some of them did very well at it. But when the game changed, it was no longer about who did business the best. It was about who played capitalism the best. And capitalism comes from the word capital. It is a game where you play with capital. The race is not to the swift, not the battle to the strong, but time and chance happens to them all. Time and chance. Time has happened to the old idea of wealth, which was how many businesses you had. It has now changed to how you deploy capital. Our ancestors did not have that. It came from the West. And so people like this that are connected to the source, they have seen the limits of profit. They've seen the limitations of business profit. Yes, you can get rich with it, but rarely would you get wealthy just relying on business profits alone. It's now a higher game of how you deploy money, that is capitalism, how you deploy capital. If you remember, though, I don't write in this book, but it was in one of the interviews floating around Instagram where Famous Adeola was given an interview. He was talking about how he lost everything he had. I don't know how many of you watched that interview. The time he said 2008, where he lost everything. It was a huge debt. Some business went bad. It was a huge debt. It was leverage, and he had to liquidate a lot of assets. Did you hear the details of the assets he had to liquidate? He said he had. When I was hearing this guy narrate, I was like, what the hell? I know 2008. Oh, Mika says in his book as well. Okay, I've not read that far, but this one I saw it I saw it on the videos and the interview he was giving. He had major shares in most of the Nigerian banks at the time, most of them. And that's where I was going, because capitalism demands that you deploy capital into the casino of the economy. The casino of capitalism is gambling. You deploy capital into the casino. I'm coming to that casino. That casino is called the stock market. All right? That casino is the stock market. And you cannot be bastardly rich in capitalism until you learn how to play and gamble in the casino of capitalism. And that is called the stock market. And there are levels to it. All right? What happened recently? What did Motorola say recently? He was on his books in the news now, where he said he wanted to sell $100 million worth of shares in Geregu and invest in Dangote refinery. That is how bastard money is made in the game of capitalism, by moving your chips on the table, by deploying capital, because it's capitalism. Now let me explain the sorcery of capitalism real quick before I close. Let me explain the sorcery of capitalism. All right, now quickly I have to switch over to Dangote. All right, Dangote has always been doing well. For as long as I've been a kid, I've always known of Dangote. He has always been in good terms with every administration, from Abacha to Abubakar to Obasanjo to Yaradua, Goodluck Jonathan, and Buhari, and now to he's always, he's been doing well in business. However, his net worth did not skyrocket properly until he also connected to the, I don't know which consultant he may have got in touch with. Maybe one day, if he ever writes his book, we'll explain how that happened. But before then, he was just doing normal business and relying on business profits. And his net worth was only reliant on profits from business. But your net worth cannot skyrocket until you play in the casino of capitalism, which is stocks. I don't know who must have consulted for him or whatever. Then I told him, look, we've got to arrange our affairs, and we have to put you into the casino. Because you know what happens in that casino? While you're out there depending on business profits, it means that your net worth is only denominated by how much you have in your bank account, and which may be substantial, but it can be way more if you play in the casino. All right, you'll be limited to physical assets, buildings, real estate, tangible things. But when you play in the casino, you are able to base your net worth on intangible things. You are able to base your net worth on the belief that people have in what you are producing. All right, so what does that mean in practical terms? Say based on the productive activities of what's Dangote's oil arm called? I don't know what's Dangote Petroleum, or let's just say, I don't know the answer, but maybe let's call it Dangote oil, right? Just for the sake of the example. Let's say you're based on the activities of Dangote oil, they're able to make some very good profits, right? And the profits is what comes to him maybe, let me say maybe $1 billion, for example. All right. Let's say what comes to him based on the productivity of the business, maybe $1 billion, all right, a year. Just a number I'm just throwing out there, right? Doesn't have to be accurate. If he decides to take Dangote Petroleum, all right, So Dangote Refinery, thank you, Molaliko, thank you. If he decides to take Dangote Refinery into the casino of capitalism, because our forefathers did not create it, the white man did. When you learn from the white man, you now come and throw your company into the casino, which he is now doing with the IPO. All right. When you throw it in, you now value the company, first of all, intrinsically, but you are now able to value the company based on something that people cannot see or touch. And what is that? Belief. You are able to, oh my God, listen carefully, guys. This is top economics lesson here. You are able to value a company based on two indices. Forex and crypto people know what these things are: fear and greed. This is the spirituality of money being made tangible, where the fear or greed of a people will determine your net worth. If you're in forex or crypto, you know there's something called the fear and greed index. And you can Google it. What's the fear and greed index? There's an actual index, a meter, right, that measures how fearful people are of a particular stock or how greedy they are of a particular stock. It measures public sentiment of a particular stock. Now, in order to move my company's profit from 1 billion, let's say I'm still playing on the level of profit. If I want to move my net worth from $1 billion to 5 billion, what do I need to do? See, nobody's a bigger player at this game than Elon Musk. You can make a company that is losing money worth trillions because you know how to play in the casino. So when you're on the level of profit and you're making $1 billion, if you want to make it into 5 billion, you have to do so much. And people are like, guy, I don't need to be 5 times more productive to turn $1 billion to 5 billion. Nah, because now I can increase my net worth through the fear and greed of other people. Because if I put this company into the casino such that people can buy shares in the company, if I can make them believe that this company is going to be worth 5x tomorrow, they will put money into buying shares of that company. And because I have shares at the bottom and they're buying and pushing up the price, demand and supply, the more demand they think have, the higher price goes. It's like forex, like crypto. The more people put money in, the more the price goes up. And as the price goes up, the value of the shares that I have as founder and owner or major stakeholder, the value that I have keeps on increasing. If the total value of my shares in that company is just $1 billion, for instance, the more people put money and buy that stock, you know, that the cost of that stock increases. I have not produced anything. But based on their greed, as in fear and greed index, based on their belief in this company's future performance, because it's not now performance, it's future performance, it's speculative. Based on their belief in the future performance of this company, of this stock, right? They are putting money and buying stock because they are greedy. Not about it, but they are greedy for tomorrow. That greed causes them to pour money into it. And that pouring money into it causes the value of the shares that I had before to increase, possibly 5x. And from 1 billion, now on paper, I have a net worth of 5 billion without creating anything. Okay, so if I know that I can get richer, not necessarily by producing more, but by influencing the confidence that people have in my company's future performance, where should I focus? Come on, guys, think with me. Think with me. All right, like I said, nobody plays this game to perfection better than Elon Musk. Well, maybe Donald Trump too. Maybe Donald Trump too. That's debatable, but the one that is in full view, Elon Musk. Elon Musk's SpaceX is doing an IPO and is at a valuation of trillions of dollars. What do they produce really? Is it in that same equivalency? But once it goes live and people buy into it, whoever had shares at the ground floor, their money increases without them putting a dime. And the game of capitalism moves on. It keeps on progressing. Such that now, without producing more, just by playing in the casino of the economy, which is the stock market, your $1 billion or 1 million becomes 5 million or 5 billion. It now increases. Now, it doesn't mean that you have $5 billion in the bank. However, capitalism allows you to have a net worth in imaginary money. All right? It allows you to have a net worth even if the money is imaginary. Because again, who gives the valuation? We just give you the valuation and make people believe that that valuation is legitimate and real. Silicon Valley does that all the time. They call it the bubble. All right. Now, you may not have $5 billion in cash. You can't go and take $5 billion. You can't just sell your share. No, you can. But you are allowed to say, I am a billionaire. I am on Forbes list. I am worth $5 billion, even though you don't have $5 billion cash. And that's okay. Because you can leverage that imaginary money for real money. Right? Maybe not $5 billion of real money, but for every $5 billion of imaginary money that you have in the casino, the modern world can throw maybe $100 million at you. And that's not bad. Based on the existence of your imaginary money and the belief we all have in modern capitalism. And if you saw the movie that I recommended for you guys to watch, not the movie, the series, We Crashed, right? We Crashed was a perfect example of this. If you see that time where he went to the bank to get a loan, right? Wait, hold on, let me find that clip. That's a very dramatic clip. Clearly now. Stand. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. Okay, let me find that clip for you real quick. Okay. All right, I'm just gonna share my screen. I'm going to download it now. Okay, I've seen it. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I want you to tell me what you can learn from this. Watch this happen. This is the movie We Crashed.
Good afternoon.
Hello, how may I help you today?
I'd like to open a line of credit.
Oh, great. One of our personal bankers will assist you momentarily.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Go ahead and insert your ATM card. Go ahead and enter your PIN. On behalf of Chase Bank, I'd like to thank you for being a loyal customer for 7 years. Congratulations, Mr. Newman. Looks like you're pre-approved for our Sapphire Preferred card. You earn 2 times points on dining, including eligible delivery services. There's a $95 annual fee plus a credit limit of $10,000.
10,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to need a bit more than that.
I can certainly help you with that. How much were we thinking?
50 million.
I know, right? You have $43,000 in your bank account.
Google me. It's okay, don't be shy.
Hey, Roger. Roger.
Adam, you are now what we call in the banking industry a UHNWI. You know what that means?
No.
It means ultra high net worth individual. Congratulations. And as the chairman here at JPMC, I like to think I understand the concerns of the ultra high net worth individual better than most, right?
Yes, yes.
I understand, I think, the opportunities. I understand the challenges.
Challenges.
Yeah, in your case, the challenge is that your business has received billions. But you, Adam Newman, still only have
$43,000. Yes.
right in your bank account. The value of your shares can't be accessed without a liquidity event. So your primary challenge, Adam, now is liquidity.
Make me liquid, Jamie. Make me liquid.
Yeah, but a $50 million line of credit. I think you need $100 million. And that would give you more optionality.
Makes perfect sense.
Come on. I'll have the lending team get into it.
Jamie, how did you know?
Thanks, guys.
Don Julio, my favorite.
Adam, I'd like you to consider me a personal banker.
Okay, that's about it. All right. So that just dramatized exactly what I explained here. So what happened was Adam Newman, and that's the true life story. There's a real Adam Newman, and this was about his story about the company WeWork, so a company called WeWork, right? So they were not really producing, they were not making profits, as anything significant. But he was able to convince people that WeWork was a valuable company. And based on the confidence people had in his pitch, they began investing billions and buying shares. And was the founder, the value of his shares was now billions. So on paper, he can show up on Forbes list as a billionaire, but in real life, all he had was $43,000 in his account. Right? In real life, all he had was $43,000 in his account. But in the casino, he had billions of dollars in imaginary money. That is money based on the belief that people have in his future performance. That's basically what buying shares in his company meant, even though they're not making any real profit. So like the banker was telling him, you have a liquidity problem. You have just $43,000, even though there are billions in your company. You have billions of dollars worth of shares, but they cannot be accessed except through a liquidity event. So you have billions of dollars in shares, and the shares are only valued that much because of the belief many people have in those shares. And you cannot sell your billions of dollars of imaginary money because it's going to destroy the company. And also, who's going to buy actually? Yeah, no one's going to buy all those shares from you because you said I don't have the money. So you can't access the billions of dollars in imaginary money. But that's okay. According to the rules of capitalism, the game of capitalism, for every $1 billion you have in imaginary money, you can access a few $100 million. And that's okay. But at least because you have billions of dollars in imaginary money, you have more options. You can now use the imaginary money to get some real money, less, but still substantially $100 million is still really good. And you can use that to do things. You can get more loans, you can invest in more businesses. People listen to you and, think you're really smart since you're a billionaire, because most poor people don't know what it means to be a billionaire. They don't know. They think that billionaire means he has $1 billion in his account. No, what he has, his assets, including stock, is valued at a certain amount of money. So that even I say call it imaginary money, is not valueless. It's the fact that he has it still allows him to make certain other business moves. He can take loans from banks using his shares as collateral. Elon Musk did this when he purchased Twitter. He used his Tesla stock to borrow money from the bank with which he used to buy Twitter. So these are the places. So what I'm saying is that, relying on business profits is the old way of doing things. Billionaires don't do that anymore. That's the old way of doing things. All right. Under capitalism, you must play in the casino of capitalism, and that is in the stock market. Two ways. Either you come in on the ground floor and buy stock of a company that you know that you can use your influence and code to hype the value of. Because that's it. When you're playing the capitalism casino, that is the stock market, you become a wizard. You become a sorcerer. You stop focusing on productivity, and you now start focusing on influencing public opinion to be more greedy about your stock. Because the more greedy they are about your stock, the more the existing stock you had at the ground floor price begins to increase. So, for example, now, if Mr. Femi has stock, he doesn't have to own Dangote Refinery, but if he has a lot of stock in Dangote Refinery, and he goes around doing press conferences and interviews talking about how Dangote Refinery is going to be the next best thing, and because you were convinced by what he says, you now go and buy the one he bought. Increases in value, not because they produce more petroleum products, even though they do, but his value of his own stock increases because of the belief you now have in the future profitability of the refinery. So you put your money in, and that increases what he has. That's how to play in the casino. And the more the value of what he puts in there increases, the more optionality the game of capitalism offers him. He can use that. Maybe $100 million. You put in your money, people to come in, and that $100 million becomes valued now at $300 million. He can, based on the belief of people, he can use that $100 million as collateral for other things he needs to do. That $100 million, did he produce anything to make it? No, but he was able to influence beliefs. Hypothetically, right? I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying how the game works, right? So if you leverage that and you're able to make more, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because you not realize that the game has changed. All right. So the same thing with Dangote. Dangote got bastardly rich when he played according to the rules of capitalism by putting it out there on the stock market. Now he has freed himself up from having to have his net worth increase only based on business profits. You can now have a net worth increase through influencing the beliefs of people in your stock. Diminish on that fear and greed index. Try as much as possible to diminish fear and increase greed. That's what the fear and greed index is. So when you see all these reports in newspapers, this is the investor readiness reports, and there are good things being said. You'll be watching the news and be like, oh, okay, I think it's going to be a good idea. Your belief has been influenced. You put it in. All right. So two ways: you come on the ground floor, buy good stuff, or you start a very good business, a very profitable business, and find a way to throw that business into the casino, like Facebook. Put it into the casino. Have your own company be on the stock market, and then take a step back from being CEO in charge of operations and how you can make profit. Let somebody else handle that. You step back and become the grand wizard, influencing people's opinions so they can buy shares. All right, your company is productive. Yes, you have your net worth measured by how productive the company is. But according to the rules of capitalism, when you go step above that, you can now boost that net worth by playing the game of perceptions. So people put their money in, and your money, the value of your imaginary money, begins to go up. But the imaginary money is useful because you can leverage that as collateral for other business moves. Does that make sense? All right. So that's the connection. All right, and that's why I say that people should read this book. Doesn't mean that you'll become like him, but people like this, they write things that you will never even learn in school. All right, you only learn it by maybe being an intern at an investment bank somewhere, or it's hidden. So many young Nigerians don't really know where money comes from. They just assume so many assumptions. All right, let me really breeze through to Prince Arthur Eze. Yeah. Now, Prince Arthur is people call him the billionaire, but do you know how he makes his money? And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, do you know how he makes his money? He's into oil, but he owns oil installations in foreign countries. He owns. I don't know if he still owns, but he made a lot of his money from oil installations in other countries like Venezuela. All right. There's one video I saw on TikTok where he has the picture of the just ousted president of Venezuela in his living room because he has oil installations in Venezuela. What does that tell you? That people who make a lot of money in this country, they have outside connections. They don't just depend on here. So you just come and they're telling you, this country till I die. The wealthy don't think like you. That is just the curriculum of the poor. Everybody on this list, they have had to go and draw power from the center to learn how it is done. From Prince Arthur Eze to Dangote to Otedola, I even have another name. Senator, the Delta Senator, what's his name? The Delta Senator representing Delta North. Let me big. Let me just, okay. I can see his face in my mind's eye, but I can't buy his name right now. Senator Ned Woko, thank you very much, Samuel Chuku. Senator Ned Woko, for example, right? There's a video I played for you. I played the video for you guys on one of the next episodes where he was giving an interview by someone. It was being recorded, and it's out there. But Nigerians don't listen. They don't listen. That's okay. That's their business. But one of the things he said there was that he didn't go to Nigerian law school because he never intended to study to be a Nigerian lawyer. That he wanted to be a UK lawyer, so he went to law school in the UK, studied law in the UK to be a UK lawyer. That to be a Nigerian lawyer that's when you have to now go to Nigerian law school. And I didn't go there because I never intended to do law or practice law in Nigeria. I went to practice law in the UK. That is how the most elite Nigerians think. But if you were to say that to a peasant, the peasant in his low level of consciousness will curse you. Very confident, because the most brilliant people are very confident about nothing. Lacking discernment, lacking knowledge, lacking everything. Right? They're cash poor, brain poor, spiritually poor. Right? But here is someone who represents you at the Federal House of Assembly, at the Senate. And here's his game plan. That video don't get many likes, but people don't like those things. The standout is where this, what's her name, is involved now. Regina Daniels, or dead people. But this guy was giving major update here. For you start thinking like, oh wait, are you saying that there are Nigerians who, once they're done with their law degree here, they don't do Nigerian law school because they don't consider law in Nigeria to be profitable for them, and they have seen a way to be profitable as law? What's the connection? What are they like? They don't think deeper. That there are many ways Nigerians make their money. So many ways. There's so many ways. You can't limit yourself to do lash tech or nail tech. Your destiny could have been bigger. So, but see, maybe you are a law student, for example. Let's say you are a law student in Nigerian university, and you've been wondering, after school, what next? What am I going to do? Like, I'm looking around at my seniors who graduated from law. I'm looking at them, they're not looking very okay. What do I do? Will I now finish from law school and now go and enter one chamber like this and be and then now see something like that? I'm like, wait, what's this man saying this interview? So it's possible to actually go and do a UK law school instead of Nigerian law school. I say, I've never heard this before. How does this work? If you have access to him, maybe you can ask him. If you have access to him, at least you have learned that this thing is possible. Now, who can I talk to about this thing? How possible is this thing? And you are so blessed. Oh my God, I feel like finding a tomato to stone your face. Some of you younger ones, I feel like stoning you tomatoes because you don't know how blessed you are. At time we have ChatGPT. At least with ChatGPT, any small update you have, you can take it to ChatGPT and expand it to be bigger. Like now, you didn't know that this or that was possible. Now you know it's possible. Yeah, take it, throw it there, flesh it out. Back then, it was hard. You have to be really diligent if you were a knowledge seeker. You have to be really diligent. So people make their money in all kinds of ways. I told the lady Anne to watch this whole thing, and so she'll get some other answers. All right. So people make them write this thing down because I'll use it later. What was his name? Ned. All right. I'm trying to figure out how will a UK LLB be more advantageous to me than doing it in Nigeria. What are these? And you compare. If any of your seniors who have taken that route, maybe school seniors, you call them, ask them, this is it, how you go, how is it? What are the opportunities? Okay, how do I go and do it? It's going to be, of course, it's going to be expensive because it's a narrow road. If it were easy, everybody would do it. So who go sponsor me? Can I beg my local government chairman? Can I beg my parents? Can I? But at least you have seen the narrow road, right? So ladies and gentlemen, I can't move further, but I want to just quickly rush through it. All right. Let me quickly look at my notes so I missed anything. Okay, I said I'm going to play a video. Let me play that video too. I'm not finished. Let me find that video I was going to play real quick. Here. Okay. All right. So this video is from the movie Wall Street. It is not captioned, so you go manage and just open your ears very wide. I need to be done with this quick.
When does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made. It's simply transferred from one perception to another, like magic.
Did you hear that? Money is not lost or made. It's simply transferred from one perception to another, like magic. It's describing how money is made on Wall Street, the center of global capitalism. I'll start again. Listen closely. They're giving me the updates. 1997 movie Wall Street. Let's go.
So tell me, Gordon, when does it all end, huh? How many yachts can you water ski behind? How much is enough?
It's not a question of enough, pal. It's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made. It's simply transferred from one perception to another, like magic. This painting here, I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600. The illusion has become real, and the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it. Capitalism at its finest.
How much is enough, Gordon?
You hear that? The illusion has become real, and it says what? Capitalism at its finest. Because capitalism is just deploying capital into the casino of the world, where you can make imaginary money. That you cannot catch that imaginary money, but you can leverage it for real money and use that real money to create more optionality. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I promise you, I'm going to create specific dedicated programs for this particular topic. We can expand on this and have action plans, pull in the Oracle, and we go deep on this. Either a 2 or 3 day event, I will confer with my team and maybe the Oracle, and we'll get to you with a concentrated schedule programs. We told them a couple of years ago, but I haven't done any this year or last year. But we'll do some more of this and we'll focus them just on money. Again, I can't, just talk about money throughout night school. Night school is not about money. It's about the game of life. And the game of life is multifaceted. It's wide and broad. But the one that are relating to just money, we'll create separate dedicated programs for that. So please be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for being on here. Please, I would like to again sell you quickly on a Night School Plus subscription. With Night School Plus, you have access to our community that is growing massively by the day. How many people we got here? Let me see. We got, we're nearing 800 people. 800 subscribers over here. Look at it here. We've got 775 people right here. Right, we're nearing 800 people. Right. Let me refresh. I don't know if anyone has joined since. Or people have been joining since. It's now what happened, bro? Where'd he go? Wait. Oh damn! Let me refresh this. I messed it up. Oh, we're now 777. Look at that. The very perfect number. 777. Okay, so we are pushing towards 800 people. More people have joined, and apart from the community and the courses, the exclusive courses we got there, you'll have access to our AI chatbot called the Oracle. It is trained on all the episodes of Night School, and it is positioned to be your success assistant. It's not an AI assistant; it's your partner in success. You see all the testimonials that people have been sharing about the Oracle all day. It's been amazing. People are using it to make all kinds of money, and they're not paying tithes to the real Oracle. All right. See, someone said I've projects in the Oracle and I'm about to get the first investor. Can you imagine that? Right. So these are all the multitude of testimonials from the Oracle. And I would like you guys to also be a part of it. All right. That's that. So like I always say, every conversation with you is a financial transaction because we transact, if not in paper money, if not in cash money, we transact in one of the other 4 currencies of life. The 4 currencies of life, as noted by the abbreviation MEAT, meat, money, energy, attention, and time. Money, of course, the most popular. You spend money. But again, energy is a currency because you also spend energy. And when you're tired, you say, I am spent. A for attention. That's why you pay attention. Pay. It's a currency. T for time. You spend time. It's a currency. And so I thank you for spending your money, energy, attention, and time with me. And I hope that in exchange for the MEAT you spent here tonight on this transaction, I hope that you have received a product equal or in excess of the MEAT that you spent on this conversation. And I hope that we can have more successful and profitable transactions just like this here on Night School. Same time, same station, every Saturday by 9 p.m. Nigerian time. And so until next time, next week, when we come your way again with another exciting episode of Night School, use what you have, for what you have is plenty. Take care. Good night. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Million dreams, chase them till they come true. Hustling hard, doing what I gotta do. Purpose driven, ain't no time to lose. Living life, can't let it make you blue. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Every step, every breath, make it count. Climbing high, never gonna doubt. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. My chances make count. Facing fears, I know I'll surmount. Keep my faith, gotta hold my ground. In this race, I shut out the crowd. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Lost in dreams, but my vision clear. Guided by the love I feel near.
Beyond the grind and lights, the journey on a mission for meaning. Nights were stormy, hurting, doubting, saying you ain't worthy, but surely struggle shaped me. Lessons learned, the story, I could drift lost, forgetting my vision. Stay chasing shadows, trapped in indecision. I'm a king, need focus, clear intention. Hustling, squabble, minor things, be on ascension. He discredited me, just like them haters, those fakers. We advice online, we'll carry. Reflecting back on times I felt burdened. Those nights lost in darkness, my mind swerving. Had to face the man in the mirror, my own sermon. Realized purpose ain't given, it's earned. Lifted from the shackles, doubts faded, strength rising. Now I'm walking tall while the world keeps stylizing. Can't let the noise drown out the inner wisdom. Guided by the light, it's my personal schism. Holding dreams tight while others criticize. Breaking through barriers, aiming to actualize. Streak through the battles, through the nights I was fighting. Every setback, every fall, the thunder and lightning. Learn to channel the pain, turn anguish to writing. From the ashes I rose, my spirit igniting, see the vision get clearer. Each step that I take, no longer confined by fears that would shake a mind sharpened by struggle. A soul wide awake on a path that's my own, no more hearts that I
Million dreams, chase them till they come true.